Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Verve Industrials presentation on how to apply the best of IT security to OT environments using a platform approach. We're excited to join you today to share our experiences around how to bring IT and OT security together in the most effective way we can. To begin with, a brief introduction of myself and Verve Industrial. I'm John Livingston. I'm the CEO of Verve Industrial. I spent 20 years of my career with McKinsey & Company, helping industrial companies improve their strategies and operations. Over the last 5 years, I've been part of Verve Industrial as the CEO, helping clients improve their overall cybersecurity. Who is Verve Industrial, you might ask? We've been in business for over 25 years, helping clients across a range of ICS and OT issues in all sorts of vendor environments. Our team is composed of ICS and OT engineers and experts. Over the last 12 years or so, we have been developing and deploying our ICS endpoint management platform to help our clients achieve greater ICS and OT cybersecurity maturity. And that includes dozens of clients all over the world and in different industrial sectors. We provide our software platform as well as a range of OT and ICS specific professional services. We have three parts to our capabilities that are integrated. First, at the top, you'll see the Verve Security Center. It is the only endpoint management platform that is specifically built for ICS or OT. It has an agent and agentless design, so there is no need for taps and span ports, etc., and allows you to rapidly deploy it and improve remediation. In addition to that, we have two supporting elements. We have our design for defense, we call it, which is our upfront services where we help clients in everything from assessments and roadmap design to network segmentation, system hardening, etc. And then we have a range of ongoing managed services that we offer to our clients, from monitoring of security and compliance, patch updating and deployment, remediation, etc. So essentially a range of services and software that help our clients improve their overall maturity. So as we begin today, our basic question that we're going to talk through today is why, if IT security principles are well known, which they are, frameworks like the NIST cybersecurity framework, why are they so difficult to execute in OT, and how do we overcome that barrier? So as you know, we all know that there are a set of very practical recommendations on the IT side, patching, vulnerability management, detection and monitoring, etc. But there are a number of reasons why in OT those are difficult. Lack of visibility of assets, of software and vulnerabilities, because of the device types, because of sub-segmented networks and the Purdue model, etc. Lack of ability to take endpoint protective actions in many cases because of the sensitivity of devices or embedded devices which can't handle antivirus, etc. Network protections, which are often voided in a way by execution at the local level, where a plant personnel may do things like rerouting certain network traffic or making changes to configurations, etc. A lack of resources that have both that security and OT knowledge. And then finally, many times we hear in our client work, people have had a lack of focus or buy-in from the operations team, given all the other priorities that are there. And so what do we do about that? How do we bring the best of IT security that we know so well into the OT environment? Our answer to this is these 5 areas. Number one, we believe we should leverage the best of IT security as much as possible and bring that into the OT environment. Number two, we need to tune or customize those capabilities with that deep OT or ICS knowledge. What we like to say is know what you can do safely, not only what you cannot do. So there's many people who know what you can't do in OT. But how do you make sure you find those things you can do to bring IT type level security to OT? Number three, take a 360-degree platform approach so that we can bring visibility, 360-degree visibility of the risks, but also the actionability to take actions to protect. Fourth, adopt a notion we call OT systems management to ensure that security and reliability is ongoing and maintained. And then finally, bring security and ops together to provide benefits to both, because we see this as a way to generate greater buy-in and reduce the need for additional resources that one might have in other ways. We think there's really 5 key elements of what that platform needs to do. First of all, it needs to provide deep visibility into your assets, your software, et cetera. Not just what can be seen on the wire, but the same level of visibility that you would expect in an IT security. So all of your software, all of the vulnerabilities and patch statuses, all of the users, the accounts, whether the antivirus is up to date, whether the backup is up to date, et cetera, et cetera. All those same capabilities you would expect in IT have that same level of visibility. And then it also needs to be software-based so that you don't have to take years to implement a hardware-based solution. Number 2, have 360-degree asset risk management. And this is back to this point that I talked about earlier of the ability to prioritize actions. Given, look, when you go into these environments, there'll be hundreds of risks. How do I prioritize that? That 360-degree view allows us to make trade-offs across different endpoints as to what the best way to secure that endpoint is. Thirdly, the platform needs to be closed loop. And what we mean by that is not just to detect or monitor, but to actually be able to take protective actions that actually create protective elements to your cybersecurity. And that includes patching and configuration hardening, account management, et cetera. Fourth, the concept of thinking globally, but acting locally. What we mean by that is, as I said earlier, you need to have security and operations teams working closely together. So we need to be able to scale the data so that you can look widely across all of your plant environments, all your manufacturing environments. So you don't have to have each plant have specific cybersecurity skills, vulnerability analysis skills. No, we want to bring all that up so that one group of security analysts can look across the asset base to understand the vulnerabilities and the risks, to build remediation plans, et cetera. But then importantly, the actions need to happen locally. Those manufacturing teams, those OT teams that really understand those control systems need to be in control over what we're going to do to remediate those risks. Are we going to patch something? Are we going to deploy a firewall? And if so, what are the rules that are necessary? Can we remove those user accounts on that device or rename them? Or is some process down the road going to be impacted if we do that? So thinking globally, but acting locally. And then finally, that platform needs to integrate with IT tools so that the IT security team can get the same visibility and reporting, et cetera, that they're used to, but at the same time, integrate with operations tools. So the operations team, these limited resources, don't end up with 14 different tools they need to manage. In IT security, we've ended up with a series of silos, which is not great, but we have scale and we have resources. But at each individual plant, you don't have that. So we need to have an integration with operations tools so that it limits the number of things that the plant and OT people need to focus on. It also, by doing that, by integrating operations tools, it provides additional benefit to those operations teams in terms of reliability and visibility into many essentially manufacturing execution things that they may not have had visibility to before, that some security tools can help them have. So these are the 5 things that we see as key to the platform to really being able to provide IT type capabilities into OT security. So let's start with the first one, that deep visibility as the foundation of the platform. So, you can think of different layers you would go to. How deep are you going to fish, as it were, in terms of the visibility into where you can see. So with passive asset discovery, you might get one layer, and this is where you would review what's around what's coming off the spans or tap ports, et cetera, to see what devices are on your network. You might be able to infer some things at the next layer from that same data. Because I know what OS version is, I can infer the missing patches. But our view is you've got to get deep, deep, deep down to the bottom of the ocean, as it were. All installed software, all patch statuses, getting to the user accounts, the password age, domain policies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Only by getting that deep can you then build the kind of 360-degree view that you're going to need to make those risk trade-offs. The reality is this is doable. We do this every day with our clients. You can get to that level of detail if you take this approach of leveraging the best of IT security and tuning it for the OT environment. We'll talk about that as we go. Once you build that robust, detailed inventory that we talked about on the prior page, that kicks off the ability to provide a detailed 360-degree risk score. The richness of that inventory allows me to see vulnerabilities, patches, configuration settings, everything through backup status, et cetera. Also importantly, that item at 11 o'clock there or so about asset criticality. The ability to know how important that asset is to the overall process so that you can combine the exposures with the criticality. What that allows us to do within Verve is we create an asset risk score. And that asset risk score combines the exposure with the criticality, which allows you to say, these are the most critical issues to resolve in this system, and then allows you to focus on those assets first. What this 360-degree also allows you to do is to know, is the right answer for that particular asset to harden the configuration, or do we really need to actually protect it with network protections or with anti-malware and whitelisting, because we need to apply compensating controls rather than more direct controls to resolve that security vulnerability. Obviously, that 360-degree risk score starts with knowing your vulnerabilities. And importantly in OT, not just your vulnerabilities on your desktop assets, not just your vulnerabilities in the OS software, but all the way down to programmable logic controllers, drives, et cetera. And then also not just the vulnerability impact, but also then how risky is each individual asset? What is the severity on each individual asset? So you can laser beam in on the ones that are most critical in your system. So once we get that 360-degree view of the risk and how I want to prioritize it, the platform then has to be able to take action. I think this is one of the most significant things that we need to bring into OT from the IT side, is the ability to take actions. For the last 25 years, we've been working with clients on helping them actually remediate risk, not just to detect it, but remediate it. And it comes through things like integrated remediation. And so with Verve anyway, we go right from that detection or identification of a vulnerability, prioritizing using the 360 platform, to then closing the loop. So I've assessed the vulnerability. I've reviewed the patch. I can then approve it or mitigate it, monitor how long it's been, et cetera, import it, save it, and then deploy that patch. Obviously done with testing and control. And again, we'll come back to this with that local action, right? Think global, act local, but that this last deploy action is taken locally by people who really understand those systems. But without this, without the ability to take actions and patch, or alternatively to do configuration hardening or removals of accounts that shouldn't be there, or renaming of admin, et cetera, without that actionability, all we have is a lot of alerts without much security. So that actionability, as I mentioned, needs to go from things like patching to being able to lock accounts with expired passwords, for instance, delete inactive accounts that are over a certain time frame, especially those when they're on critical assets. Be able to rename or delete admin accounts by asset. The platform is powerful because you can go from that 360-degree risk that says, hey, I've got all these accounts with expired passwords, to immediately pivot to actually being able to do something about that. And only then will we really be able to bring that IT capability into OT because we'll actually be able to take actions. The next part of the platform is that it needs to blend the strength of IT and security with OT capabilities. This is what we refer to as think global and act local. So as you see on this chart, basically being able to pull that data from all of your plants, so 60, 100, 600, whatever it is, all of those manufacturing environments up to one database. Bring up vulnerability data, patch data, detection information, user and account information, all up into one scaled and analysis platform where a focused security team can scale their analysis. Because to train every site personnel about how to use a security system and how to do vulnerability analysis just doesn't make sense. So get all that data up. Potentially have regional subject matter experts that may be able to help a local organization do work around a firewall, et cetera. But then as we get into the details of remediation, so that central team can prioritize, they can think through the remediation plans, they can even design remediation plans, but then it comes to time to execute. And that is where the OT personnel are so critical, because they will understand when I patch that system, here are all the other things that I need to do, for instance, or here are the accounts that are required for this system to work appropriately, or this application absolutely has to communicate with that application to make my pharma manufacturing process run efficiently and effectively. And so bringing in that local action is key. Okay, so what does that mean? It means a platform that can have data at the top, push all that data to the top in a secure way, but then when the actions come, to be able to control those actions locally and allow and give those OT personnel automation capabilities, but where they hold the key to the trigger. They're the ones who will decide whether or not that action gets completed at a certain time of day or night or whatever it happens to be. And security, frankly, is core to operational reliability. Oftentimes we hear that we get pushback, that fifth point we made up top, the fifth challenge of, lack of buy-in. The reality is security is core to the operational reliability. Companies like Merck and Maersk and others demonstrate this is a billion-dollar problem if this goes wrong. And who's responsible at the end of the day? It's manufacturing ops, because it's their systems that they got to get back online again. Asset management. Asset management is a core function of all forms of operational reliability and resilience. Well, security functions can really provide enhanced operational visibility. When we put Verve in to our clients' operations from a security point of view, the operations personnel are always excited because they start to see operational issues that they didn't quite understand before until we were provide that visibility. Change management. So by having security capabilities in there, you automate change management discovery. And when you do that, operational issues start to emerge where people have made changes that perhaps they shouldn't have made. Network reliability. So oftentimes our clients are having troubles with their network for a variety of reasons, et cetera. And we put Verve in and we start to get visibility into what the problems are from a security point of view in their network. And in fact, that actually resolves operational issues that they've been having. And then finally, recovery, right? The ability to ensure that you have backups. So it's not just because of ransomware, but your systems may go down, an HMI may get locked up, et cetera. By having a security tool in place that can guarantee or ensure that you've got a backup, an updated backup, you can always make sure that from an operational point of view, you can get back on track quickly. And then the platform, Verve brings in those operational alarms into Verve, so that instead of having, okay, I've got a tool that's monitoring for my alarm detections on security and a separate thing that I use for my DCS alarms, by bringing these two pieces together, we get security data and process data in the same platform. That not only allows an operator to have a single platform to look at, but it also allows for a much faster remediation of risks and incident response, because I can start to pivot around security issues and reliability issues and process issues, and ensure that I'm really understanding what's going on in that particular situation. And we've actually demonstrated that this is possible. So this is from one of our clients. They used the NIST cybersecurity framework to identify what they needed to do, their original gaps, and that's what you see in those gray bars. That was those original scores on the NIST CSF. And then they deployed Verve, and they redid their scores a year later. And what you see there is what's additive to it, which is the brown or gold bars. And this was roughly a 2x improvement from the gray to the gold. And so when you deploy this kind of a platform and you have a mindset of bringing the best of IT security into OT, you can see rapid improvements in your cybersecurity maturity because you're taking proven capabilities that we know work in IT. You're then tuning them using a platform that's been tuned for OT, but you're bringing those concepts into the OT environment. You're making those trade-offs that we talked about. And then most importantly, you're allowing that security team to have visibility of the risks, design remediation, and then provide that down to plant level folks who can then decide to take those actions and how they're going to take those actions in the right time and the right pace for their operation. So we thank you for joining us today. We look forward to future opportunities to meet with you, and have a great rest of the conference. Thank you.